那请各位与会嘉宾准备尽快的入座，我们的与会即将开始。
请问口译机邱立伟，请问口译机。
那请问口译机测试了吗？有问题的话可以提出哦。
如果临时还要好，给你。
我想跟
副市长，你还要副长跟局长。如果他们要这个的话，如果需要的话，他好像已经有这个了。对，如果他们说上有这个，所以这应该还好。如果他需要口译机临时，可能要不要想？
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first IFOAM Asia Organic IFOAM. Mr. Zhang Zhou of Agriculture.
行政院农业委员会林务局邱立文主任秘书。
Mr. Li Feng, Secretary General of Asia Organic IFOAM. We are all gathered here for the International Organic Conference co-organized by IFOAM Asia and the New Taipei City government in conjunction of the first IFOAM Asia Organic IFOAM. We will exchange our experience and our successful experience together with each other. First of all, we would like to acknowledge the presence of foreign guests. Let's welcome Mr. Christopher Silvendorfer, coming all the way from Germany. All the way from Germany, Secretary of Demeter International. Mr. Marco Scooter from Netherlands. From India, please welcome Mr. Mitchell John, Director of Keystone Foundation. From South Korea, Mr. Mitchell John, Board Member of IFOAM Asia, Director of the Institute of Rural Development and Local Governance. From Japan, we have Ms. Miyoshi Satoko. Okay, well, not here. From the Philippines, we welcome Mr. Victor Gupa, Senior. Welcome. The Executive Director of League of Organic Agriculture Municipality of Cities and the Ambassador of the Asia Local Government for Organic Agriculture. The next, Ms. Lucia Astraga, Vice Mayor of Durham City. Ms. Maria Luana Alabuna, Coordinator of MESIPAC. From Sri Lanka, we have Mr. Victor Michael Bendit, Asula Piyansa, Secretary of Land of Organic Agriculture Movement. From Indonesia, Ms. Maya Stolastika Bolen, President of Indonesia Organic Alliance. In addition, we have Ms. Chu Yanruan, the President of PGS Vietnam. Ms. Shen Xin, Vice President of Myanmar Organic Grower and Producer Association. We also would like to welcome Mr. Giuliano from Argentina, who is also a world member of IFOAM Organic International. Last but not least, we are honored to welcome Mr. Jennifer Zhang, the Executive Director of IFOAM Asia and the Vice President of Organic International. Please give a round of applause to all the foreign guests to will give us present in the conference.
谢谢以上的国际讲师，同时也让我们欢迎今日的台湾讲师，新北市政府农业局股长张家伟先生。国际企业 SGS 台湾。
Mr. Zhang Weizhang, Section Head of the Agriculture Department, New Taipei City Government. Mr. David Wang, Senior Director, SGS Certification and Business Enhancement of Taiwan and Northeast Asia. Mr. Gilandi Li, President of Li's Ren Company. And Mr. Hu Murong, Chief Executive Officer of Cixin Organic Agriculture Foundation, and Ms. Kelly Bai, Chief Executive Officer of Foxconn Agricultural Technology. I would like to thank Zhong Zhenxin, Jia Weizhang, Section Head, Department of Agriculture, and the officials from New Taipei City Government. And Mr. Zheng Yuechen from New Taipei City Government. Thank you for your participation in today's event. Next, 接下来，我们一起欢迎 IFOAM Asia 周志江会长为我们致开幕。
of the Forestry Bureau of the Council of Agriculture of Taiwan, Ms. Chu Li-wen. Okay. Distinguished guests from all over the world, dear participants of the 4th Asia Organic Youth Forum, of this important event, thanks to all the participants of the conference for your great support to Asian organic movement, especially to our young organic colleagues. At this moment, as I'm in Taiwan, I would like to get an excuse of the foreign guests. I will speak in Chinese, the following. Okay, please take your earphone. Okay.
Now that I'm in Taiwan, I think to make my speech more accessible to the local audience, I will switch to Mandarin Chinese. So, as you know, this is the 4th IFOAM Asia Organic Youth Forum. We are very pleased to hold a forum in different cities around the world. It took place in China, in the Philippines, now in Taiwan, and very soon the 5th forum will be held in India. And I believe in the future the forum will take place in other cities around Asia. Hopefully, organic farming will be in vogue throughout Asia. We believe that it is believed that Youth Forum is the only one. This is only held in Asia. It hasn't been held in other continents yet. And so far, we have the youngest participant, youngest member, Julia Lernout. She's also present today. And she is a very young participant. We believe that we will have even more youths participating in our movements, and they will inject the blood of enthusiasm to our movements. And prior to today's event, we have held a workshop that lasted for 3 days. We saw a very high turnout. Most workshops actually only receive 25 participants, but this workshop we just held received 50 participants. It was a great success. I would like to thank New Taipei City Government for holding this event. I think New Taipei City Government has done a good job in organizing this event. The theme of this youth forum is access to organic markets, the road to sustainability. I think the theme in English is highly accessible. However, in Chinese, it is translated as to open up the distribution channels to pave the way for organic farming. I was confused, I was baffled by the title at the beginning. But I believe that Taiwan, in 2015, we've ushered in Organic 3.0. We have witnessed some breakthroughs in technology and also in marketing. Now that we have some organic produce, we have to know how to open up the marketing channels, how we can inject momentum to the sale of organic goods. I believe that New Taipei City government is highly ingenious. I think it is necessary that we build a good distribution channel first. I've been in this industry, I've been in organic farming for 3 decades. I think Taiwan has taken up leadership in this field. So I think Taiwan is on equal footing as other advanced countries. So for Taiwan, how to increase the market penetration, that is the key. That's highly essential. Second, I think this forum belongs to the youths. We have to, in fact, I think this forum is for youths. We have to engage youths. We have to engage young people. To my surprise, I was the instructor of the workshop, and I am 74 years old. I think that the participants of the workshop are all very young. Some of them could even be my grandchild. And we belong to the first generation organic farming practitioners. I have some of my colleagues are sitting in the audience. Yes.
And we also have a couple, Mr. and Mrs. Lee. They are sitting over there. And they are the model assigned by New Taipei City, which year he was born? 1980. Actually, between me, this is a 1.5 generation, 1 year younger than my son. But I'm quite happy they're not dedicated to organic business. The day before yesterday, we had a training session evening. They're still going back, prepare for their teas. And the wife says only slept for 1 hour and came back to this training session again. So this kind of effort is something we need to, right here, I won't have a natural gas, petroleum, or coal. We need to go to this path of organic. So let us put our effort together to develop together to contribute to the organic business, to realize the mainstream of the organic. So our hope lies on the young people. Thank you very much. Thank you, New Taipei City.
Next, we would like to invite Mr. Mingji Wu, Vice Mayor of New Taipei City, to address to the audience.
接下来，让我们欢迎新北市政府吴明基副市长上台致辞，掌声有请。
Mr. Zhou, CEO Mrs. Zhang, and Secretary General Li, and our distinguished speaker, Marco Schüttler, Debbie Huang, Christoph Simfong III, Mu Ren Su, Matthew Zhang, Men Chu Zhang, Candy Li, Kelly Pai, Victor Rileno Ihong Takupa, Julia Renaud, and Chief Secretary of Forest Bureau, Council of Agriculture, Zhu Li Wen, and partners from New Taipei City, partners from Farmers Association, NGOs, academic circles, and New Taipei City Fruit and Vegetable Marketing Corporation, and New Taipei City Government. Ladies and gentlemen, good day. I'm Deputy Mayor of New Taipei City. Welcome to join the 4th IFOAM Asia Organic Youth Forum 2019. I really appreciate that everyone attends the very first IFOAM Asia Forum in Taiwan, witnessing the milestone of organic agriculture in Taiwan, integrating into the international trend. Last 3 IFOAM Asia were held in Changzhou of China, Shanghai, and Bismarck City of Philippines, and have cultivated young organic agricultural workers from dozens of countries in Asia. It is New Taipei City that hosts the first organic youth forum this time. This is the first activity of IFOAM taking place in Taiwan. Also, the first time for Taiwan to have a world-class organic agricultural forum. New Taipei City has been promoting organic agriculture for years successfully and has received international attention. We were invited to the first Agoya held in Gosan-gun, Korea. Publishing a school lunch changed all Taiwan. That struck a chord, and Gosan-gun has become the first local government to sign the Agoya member cooperation commitment with Taiwan. Later, we were invited to Philippines for the third OAC, delivering connecting farmers, consumers, and community in New Taipei City, and thus accelerate this opportunity for Asia farmers to exchange views here this time. Organic agriculture is an environmental friendly farming method. It not only supplies safe and high quality crops to the market, but also reduces the environmental pollution caused by agricultural production. Organic agriculture is a fashion and a trend as well. In the past, the year of organic products in Taiwan was only 3,000 tons per year. Now we have 30,000 tons a year. So that's 10 times more than we used to have. In New Taipei City, we have over 200 organic certified households, and the verification area is over 200 acres. From guiding local farmers of New Taipei City, suppliers cooperating in yield distribution and cold chain logistics, investment made by corporation in cutting factories specialized in cutting organic vegetables, to the assistance provided by catering service company and schools, supply 1 day organic vegetable plus 4 day traceability agricultural vegetables. Thus, students from 653 schools, ranging from kindergarten to junior high, are able to have a fresh organic vegetable. The seminar today is only the beginning of organic agriculture in Taiwan to step onto the world stage. Symbolizing organic agriculture in Taiwan has been recognized internationally. Nevertheless, this cannot be done without the support everyone had toward the policy. From now on, we will continue to promote self-sustaining lunch popularization. Moreover, aside from 1 day organic vegetables plus 4 days traceability agricultural vegetables, we will make it possible for organic products to be sold not only to schools, but directly to big corporations and factories, gaining opportunity to expand more domestic demand channels as well. Local ingredients sold locally is the goal to achieve. In the future, we will enhance pushing forward weekend farmer markets, build New Taipei City, Hope Square. Supply product exhibition for local farmers. Construct a sales square mainly for young farmers of New Taipei City, making more people recognize the good in organic agriculture of New Taipei City. Thank you. 那在这里我再用
I would like to use Chinese to supplement that. This is in New Taipei City, and I'm quite pleased that the New Taipei City can get this right to conduct this forum. We know New Taipei City promoting organic agriculture is working very hard, and we promote into school 1 organic vegetable and 4 days traceable agricultural products. So it's very influential to schools. And also we need to set up the channel first, and then we offer the products. So this is the theme. So in the whole around the world we can see this because we see the problem, the aging of the farmers, and also the organic fruits and vegetables promotion. We need to have a more environmental friendly setup. So we need to work on this. In Taiwan, we encourage the farmers can dedicate themselves to this. But I keep emphasizing that I encourage the vegetable farmers and young farmers, they going back to the hometown, get into the agriculture, not just to grow the crops only. Running agriculture businesses versus just growing crops is different concept, because running business you need the up, mid, and down concepts. It's a whole chain. Other than the technology, they should have a good management concept so that they can develop their uniqueness. Then we can allow the youth in the agriculture path to move farther and longer. And also how to allow the organic fruit and vegetable to be promoted and deepen into the society. In the past we have organic 1.0 and 2.0, and in the past I was responsible for the economic development for a long time. For the industrial products, usually 4 phases. First phase is developing the new products, and usually it's technology push. It's 1.0. That is producing products. Then you promote aggressively to the market, and the market doesn't have this product yet. Up to 2.0, once the product's being accepted, 2.0 in the market, gradually they have their rules now. 2.0, the rule is determined by the market. 1.0, the rule is determined by the suppliers. Up to 2.0, it's determined by the customers. So we're talking about 2.0. It's like we create a channel and then create the business later. So in the future, if we allow the market to decide the specifications, then we can move further to this business, and then the outcome will be even better. In the future, we'll move into 3.0. So I think that these workshops, we were talking about what is 3.0. In developing this industrial experience, my experience is that the customer and the suppliers should sit down together to discuss about the future needs and the trends. So in dedicating to organic agriculture with all these good friends, other than that, we need to take care of the channels, and this whole ecosystem and this cluster should put together, or the stakeholders should be put together to discuss about this, decide collectively what is the need for the market. In the future will be 4.0. 4.0 will be forming the ecosystem. So the suppliers versus the consumers, as well as the peripheral industries, to form a big ecosystem. And obviously the example is also called IFOAM. It's the Apple iPhone, a cell phone. iPhone actually is enter into 4.0 now. They're not just selling a cell phone; they're selling services too, and they have apps and software available. So in the future, the development of organic agriculture, we're talking about 2.0 now. In the future, it'll be 3.0, 4.0. I hope quickly we can move to 4.0, so allow the whole organic industry, organic agriculture can be developed better. New Taipei City in Taiwan has the biggest consumption area in Taiwan for organic products. So I hope more youth can dedicate to this arena and take in New Taipei City market as the starting point. So expanding into Taiwan, and also a lot of concepts can be expanded into the world. So together we can strive for the organic culture. Thank you very much. Thank you.
A lot of helping for New Taipei City farmers and young farmers. Thank you. Next, we would like to invite Ms. Li Wen-Cho, Chief Secretary of Forest Bureau of Council of Agriculture, to deliver a speech.
我们有请行政院农业委员会林务局邱立文主任秘书为我们致辞，掌声欢迎。
好，新北市政府的
Vice Mayor Mr. Wu and Mr. Zhejiang Zhou of IFOAM, President of IFOAM Asia, distinguished guests, all the participants who care about the development of organic farming, and friends from the press, media. Good morning, everyone. It is a privilege for me to be standing here on behalf of the Bureau of Forestry to give an opening remark. I believe that agriculture is highly relevant to all of us. For human beings to survive on the planet, agriculture is essential, and everyone is concerned about eating healthy food. So we want to educate the public how to eat, how to have a healthy diet. And my bureau also think that other than having a healthy diet, it is also important that we take good care of biodiversity, take good care of the ecology. This is an international trend, and this is also compatible with the UN's sustainable goals, sustainable development goals. And I think that the workshop, the 3-day workshop prior to this event and today's forum will be very instrumental in boosting the development of organic farming. We will live with all this training and this event, will be able to live in harmony with nature. And the Bureau of Forestry actually is the competent authorities in managing the forests. But we not only just manage the forests, but we also care about the ecology, the ecological system. We know that a lot of wildlife actually they not only live in the inhabit the forestry, the forests, they also live. Some wildlife also live on the farms, and therefore we know that agriculture is also very critical to the protection of our environment. And so we have been trying really hard how to do a good job in maintaining a good ecological system in Taiwan. So starting with the cooperative project for the water birds, we worked very closely with Sixing Organic Agriculture Foundation, and we actually encourage farmers to help protect wildlife. We encourage them to use less herbicide, less pesticide, so that the wildlife will have a healthier source of food supply, and they can also have a better habitat. And in fact, actually more than 400 hectares of land have now been considered friendly farming, and we have been able to protect about 43 wildlife species, and therefore we hope that by maintaining the forests, by maintaining a better habitat for the wildlife in Taiwan can be well protected. And I hope today's event, today's forum, will deepen the public's understanding of the importance of protecting our ecology, and we will be able to have a brighter future for environmental protection. I wish this forum every success. Thank you.
Now we will take our group photo. Can we invite everyone to follow the instruction of the host and the staff?
接下来我们要请所有的贵宾以及与会的各位拍张大合照。那请听从摄影师的指令跟工作人员的指引。来。那请听从那个摄影师指令跟工作人员指引，感谢各位。摄影师，你在跟我说，你们能不能全部人都入镜？有哪边需要调整？这样可以吗 ？OK。那我们看着我们的摄影大哥。
Now everyone, please look at the photographer.
右边可以吗？那我们准备要拍合照喽，请各位帮我看着摄影大哥的镜头。左边的再请帮我往右边一点点，感谢各位。可以吗？那我们准备看镜头喽，准备。再一张吗？好，再一张哦。听从摄影师指令，那我们比一个棒好了，两只手一起比个棒好了。还要比什么动作吗？好，感谢各位。那也预祝各位呢。啊，不好意思，那我们再比一个动作。那请各位帮我比。
Now please follow me. Please make this gesture, hand gesture. This means organic 3.0. 3, 2, 1. Thank you. I'd like to wish this event every success.
好，
这样可以吗？
那我们的。
This is the end of the opening ceremony. Now, the first session will be called into order. I would like to invite Mr. Sheng Xiong-hong to moderate this session for us.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce the session 1. The session 1 is an introduction to the new Taipei City organic agricultural policies and the value chain development. The first speaker is Jiawei Zhang, who is Session Head, Department of Agriculture, New Taipei City. He will give us the New Taipei City government's organic farming policies. We will welcome Jiawei Zhang.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Taiwan. My name is Chang Jiawei, 32 years old, graduated from National Taiwan University, still a teenager. I am the section head of New Taipei City Government Agriculture Department, conducting the organic school lunch program in my career. The organic program we do is to offer 360,000 students eat organic vegetable once a week. By the program, we enlarging the market and then increasing the organic farming scale in Taiwan. This picture is I take a sample test in contracted farms. For me, the program was a nightmare, but now I am very proud. I do it successfully. In the beginning, because of no one ever doing it, nobody think it will be successful. I worked to 11 o'clock in the evening, almost every day. I still remember, one day in the early morning, I was woken up by a phone call about 3 o'clock. It was from the school lunch supplier. He said, "Where are my organic vegetables? It will be late to cook." He is very angry. I was shocked. What happened? Then I found the point sadly. I sent the wrong order to counting stations. The vegetables were 1 ton less in the order. That will affect on 10,000 students for lunch. How stupid I have done. But I had no time to regret it. I had to fix it. I called up all organic vegetable counting station, checking the storage of vegetable, and ask them to count together as soon as possible. Finally, I offered the vegetable to the company at 9 o'clock in the morning. It is the deadline to cook. My boss told me, it is enough to do one thing right in government career. I think organic school lunch program is the one that must be promoted in everywhere. I appreciate New Taipei City government give me the opportunity to do it. I got the ability to do a project from 0% to 100%, and how to solve the problem. This is the mayor of New Taipei City. He ate school lunch, organic school lunch. In 2011, New Taipei City trial started the program. We made a full implementation for 286 schools in 2013. I also remember in the beginning of the implementation, we had problems. The typhoon came to Taiwan directly. All of contracted funds took damage. The general organic vegetable was not enough to supply. We found the special one to offer, the white gold. But there was another problem. It is difficult to peel. My team workers and I do it personally for school at all. Then in 2017, all main cities joined the program. 11 out of 22 counties add organic vegetable once at least a month. The end, the central government joined promoting school lunch by 4 Mark 1Q. Now, there are a lot of changes after New Taipei City government do the program. The first, verify the funds plant more vegetable than before. More and more new funds do the organic agriculture. The output and the value of organic vegetable in 2018 is 60 times as much as that in 2013. The second, 60% organic vegetable was consumed by school lunch of New Taipei City in 2013, but now it is less than 10%. The third, before 2010, organic products only sold in special stores, for example, Diren and the Golden Field. Now, 7-Eleven, Family Mart, and Costco all have organic zones. I can buy the organic goods in mainstream supermarkets and the convenience stores. The most important, contracted farmers with New Taipei City get their incomes are 50% more than average annual salary of Taiwanese. And about 36% of their incomes are from New Taipei City government organic program. It is better than ordinary office workers. Mr. Liao Ruisen is a contracted farmer in Yunlin County. His verified area is about 1.8 hectares. He is one of leaders promoting organic. I already seen him in here. He leading a number of farmers in Yunlin County do organic agriculture instead of traditional cultivating. I was impressed that his cold truck showing the slogan of enlarging the market before increasing the farming scale. That is our spirit. We do the project. And I take a secret on him. There is one bench parked in besides his cold storage. He is the one of a successful model in the program. Enlarging the market before increasing the farming scale. Now, the biggest market in New Taipei City of organic is the school lunch. We have farmers fair and the mainstream supermarket promoting the organic. We do organic auction and set contracted transaction platform. We also have a plan to link farmer to community and make a campus group buy. At the beginning of school lunch program, we took a New Taipei City Fruit and Vegetable Market Corporation as a single platform. We simply offer 2 species vegetable, wrapped as a Chinese cabbage. It has 2 good points. The first, they are easy to be cultivated and be cut. The second, I can identify the capability of contracted farmers to make sure the vegetable quality. If you are not good in the simple mode, you must can handle the hard one. Through a simplified adaptation, we set the SOP and then made the SOP better. Now, we offer many species of organic vegetable to all schools, daycares, and kindergartens. The program runs very well for other government learning. In the program, we created a full procedure organic cold supply chain. It must be verified in every section. Also in the organic vegetable cutting station. New Taipei City government set a vegetable sample test team. The team have to go to contracted farms in the other counties or cities to get the sample to test 7 days before eating. If the sample report is bad, we will have the time to ban it out. Students may not eat the bad one, absolutely. We make the organic future come better. Those companies of organic can see the opportunity of making money in the future. And they invest in the fertilization, seeds, small machines, cold chains, and the cutting stations. Agriculture could be industrial and commercial. In Taiwan, it is unbalanced between cultivating and consumption in a long time. But through a contract between school and the farms in the program, I order a vegetable, then the farmers cultivate land. The program makes a model to solve the problem. Contracted farmers have the stable income, just like general workers, and some of them can take a trip in summer and winter vacation with their kids. Maybe in the future, the contracting model will be used in all agriculture. I expect for that very much. Mr. Ye Liren is another successful model in our program. The summer vacation is taught by him. He was ever invited to Polio by the president to make the agricultural diplomacy, sharing the experience of organic school lunch program in Taiwan and the technology of agriculture. His son, Mr. Ye Yongwei, is 22 years old, also came home to cultivate organic. He will take part in a competition in Integrated Pest Management Award held by central government. The first organic auction initiated in Taiwan in 2017 at the Banqiao Fruits and Vegetable Market. In the market trade, buyers do not use cashes. They use the credit cards. Organic farmers can get money in 3 days by the bank after the trade. There are no debt calculating, no workers, no equipment. All fruits and vegetable market corporation has to pay is the internet. The other things are all handled by the bank. It is also used to all the other trades. There are another kind of trade called the booking transaction. Buyers can send orders online to market a month ago. And the market corporation passes the information to farmers cultivating. Farmers send the agricultural goods directly to the buyer, not enter the market. It is efficient to transport and reduce the cost. All market corporations have to do is checking the vegetable quality. We go ahead to the farms in Yunlin County, Jiayi County, Kaohsiung City, Pingtung County, teaching farmers how to join the auction and make them packaging well to transport. We make contracted transaction platform of organic and ecological friendly farming, gathering the small farmers and cooperate with company and the restaurant which want to make our environment better. We help farmers contract with the company buying vegetable to offer a meal between elders or cooking the ecological friendly dishes. Through the platform, Yongqing Housing Agency made a blood donation event. The present they give to donor is organic vegetable from Mr. Zheng Pengji in Danshui in New Taipei City. And the Acer Corporation contract with farmers planting ecological friendly rice in Jinshan. We appreciate those companies very much. And we send the news of what they do to enhance the image of land. We promote organic by the book and show the video. Now let's take a view to see the video. Please. The more vegetable, the more income. The income is stable and better than ordinary worker. The income of contracted farmer are more than the average annual salary of Taiwanese. Yulin Organic in Linkou, Organic Farms in Linkou.
都是因为营养午餐有能力去获得，然后是一个压力的材料。营养午餐是国中小的营养午餐，是我们目前最大的收入。
The stable market Danhua County hope more government join the project with the New Taipei City. The program solves the problem of unbalance between cultivating and consumption in Taiwan. We created a full procedural organic cold supply chain that must be verified in every section. The organic vegetable cutting stations are local company invested in because they see the opportunity of making money in the future. Except for land and money, new farmers are more carrying the market. Enlarging the market before increasing the farming scale is the New Taipei City government doing continually. This is farmers' fair, selling organic goods. This is organic zones in supermarket. The organic school lunch program let students eat safely and the parents feel relaxed. All main cities and the central government join the program with New Taipei City. We can buy the organic goods in mainstream supermarkets and convenience stores. The organic program is the best policy. The organic agriculture is sacred to make people healthy. The more people eat the organic, the more farmers cultivate. We do farming education to contract farms. Let students know how the agriculture is. Children must be cherished on food. Next page. It's not ending. We assist and subsidy to organic farms. For example, friendly awards, fund-led leasing, and material subsidy. Besides this, we made the new farmers and fishermen guidance program. We set agricultural class, field work, sharing experience, angel funding, and market introduction. This is a loop between the 5 sections. Somebody needed one. We guide them to the section to learn what they need. Except for guidance program, we spread the concept by education. The first, we do farming education at contracted farms. Farmers will be the one-day teacher, another kind of income. Let students know how their school lunch be generated, where the vegetable come from, how hard agriculture is. Children must be cherishing on food. Some of schools make a small farm in their campus. Students can plant vegetable personally in all time. The second and the third is a farm of citizens to cultivate. We make the PGS promoting the organic. People know the importance of environment and encourage children, family, school, community, and the government all play a role in promoting organic. Let's take care of our land. We grow up by organic agriculture. Thank you for your attention.
So how long? Thank you, Mr. Zhang. The second speaker is Marco Schulter. He will give us ensuring smaller livelihoods by organized structures. We will welcome Marco.
So, dear Excellencies, dear international guests, dear farmer community, it's not the usual size probably, yeah. Okay, so then I start again. Dear Excellence, dear farmers communities, dear, let's say, citizen of Taiwan and the international guests, it's my big pleasure to have the opportunity to talk today on behalf of Naturland to you about our experience regards how we can support farmers, in particular smallholders. I have to admit, when I came this morning, I was coming here with the knowledge to speak in the afternoon and thought I can enjoy the morning. And then I discovered I'm speaking already now. But I feel very honored because I see I'm speaking in the line of when it's about the new Taipei City's organic agriculture policies and value chain. And I take it as a very good sign for good cooperation with Taiwan in future because I'm already internalized in Taiwan's Taiwan system. I want to roughly introduce myself. I'm from Germany, Hamburg, originally. Okay, yeah, it's even better. In many countries in Europe, actually working on IFOAM in Brussels, building up, let's say, the counterpart of IFOAM Asia. I've been also a farmer for 5 years, to your honor, on biodynamic farms, I have to admit. And I have also worked in policies in Germany. You're very lucky because now I'm one of the first speakers, and Germans are very famous for being able to excite the plenary because we're very emotional talkers. But I can tell you there's hope because yesterday I was in Taipei City and I got a kind of fortune teller. You have these papers always, and there was something nice written what I got. Here's written, "You're a good talker. Good wealth and fame rely on your talent and speech." Let's test it out. Perhaps if you're both lucky, it will be true. Coming perhaps, because I see from the time management we have to move on. So I will present you today Naturland. I have to do this here. 1 second. Okay. Naturland is one of the biggest farmer associations globally. Uniting more than 6, but we feel and have an international vision, so we feel as international farmer association, of course with the headquarter in Germany, but also of course with the market. So that's half true. We have the main market in Germany, so there's for sure a focus there. But of course we have the farmers that we want to support globally in many countries. And also we have, let's say, small farmers. We have about 5,000 members international, but those 5,000 members include those 65,000 farmers. That shows that we have a lot of smallholders, cooperatives as members, which means 150. And also what makes us quite strong, we have a lot of, let's say, companies we work together, over 800, that help our farmers, which I explain more. If you look now perhaps on our farmers in Asia, you see that we have, sorry, I have to Press. So here you see that we have only 111 members, but the farmers in these members, so because we have a lot of smallholders in Asia, is 31,000. So 50% of our international membership outside of Germany is in Asia. So from this part, it's a really great pleasure to be here with you and talk about. And also, you will ask, of course, naturally, one member in Taiwan, that's the most impressive, but so I'm here, so we can change this. And it's an aquaculture holding, just to answer the question that may arise. Okay, what also makes us particular is that we want to unite organic, social and fair. So of course we want to, let's say, bring organic to all of the surface of the world as much as we can. That's the organic part. But what makes us really specific is also that we have integrated social standards in our, let's say, in our DNA of Naturland, looking really on the healthy working condition for the people. And also we have created, let's say, not only organic, but also the fair trade aspect, which combining North and South. So we're really looking also for ecologically sound and fair way of food production. So we talk about really reliable trading relationships, which is, let's say, our other part we certify. So Naturland has naturally the producer, the farmer, is in the center. So our governance of Naturland is based on the farmers. The farmer decides. The farmer decides on we have a private standard next to the government standard. So we decide on our private standards. The membership is farmers. But of course, we are not isolated because Naturland connects the farmers, let's say, with the world, with the value chain, with society. So we have, of course, the consumers who appreciate, let's say, buying food produced and certified by Naturland. But we also have the society. That means who acknowledge, appreciate Naturland as a player for a better society, and let's say also for, let's say, this is our real purpose, yeah, to make the world a better place and also to get the food production into the future. And of course, we work a lot with partners. Partners means, let's say, processing companies or other companies in food who, let's say, source raw material from our farmers and also bring it into the market. Can be retailing, can be market. So all this together helps the farmers through the value chain in the middle of society to be part of the solution of our food crisis. In structural sense, it would mean that we have 4 organizations. The one I'm working for is the Naturland Association, the Farmer Association, which is the standard setter and certification body, also education and training, and of course the Farmer Association. And then we have the Naturland Zeichen, which is, let's say, making the license. If you want to use our Naturland logo, so this one here, you will make a contract there. So this is more than the business part. And then we have in Germany, so this is more international. In Germany, we have a marketing part, which is, let's say, helping the farmers to get the product on the market. As well, we have an advisory service for Germany, Austria. And they, of course, helping the farmers. So, looking now what we do for the farmers and how we help them. Yeah, I said many smallholders. Of course, one thing is the standard we have. Yeah, so we have a variety of standards that gives added value to the farmers, let's say, in the competition of the market and give a higher access to market and higher security. We have, in part of, let's say, the standards, of course, we have a huge focus on let's say, the quality assurance. So it means that many retailers like to cooperate with us because they know that we look more detailed on our farmers. We have a more regular dialogue with them, so the trust is higher. Because the worst that can happen organic, and we all know this, is fraud. And so many retailers and shops say, okay, with us they have a more secure pair fence. Of course, we also then connect to the market. I mean, we will go to fairs. We talk to business. We have actually the food companies that are, let's say, called our partners. They also sub-licensees of us, and that they buy and let's say take the raw material, source the raw material from our producers. And in the end, of course, we offer the premium brand on the market, which is Naturland and Naturland Fair, to have that the product is and the raw material of the farmers is finally sold. So it's the whole value chain that we organize. Then we have training education. You saw before that we have in Germany our own advisory services, but also worldwide we do training education globally on different things. And of course, we're representing the interest of farmers in different ways, and I will talk about it in a moment. Yeah, so in going through the things we have, let's say the community, we have the training part. We have about 40 advisors in Germany and Austria who are helping the farmers on day to day. And we have also, because of course, the world is big, and at the moment our structures are mainly based in Germany. We are now slowly changing this. We have some stuff in Africa, we have a person in Vietnam, and we have a person in South America. So, but we slowly want to change this to help and support our farmers better on a day-to-day basis. But we regularly give training, seminars, whatever, if it's on internal control systems, on mango growing or whatever. And this is what is an important part of our work. On the other hand, we support the farmers' interest, but as there are many organizations doing this, we also do this in networks very much. Of course, in Germany we do it partly directly, but we are member on the different levels in Germany, in Europe, globally, in the structures. Yeah, very much IFOAM on the global level. We are very much part of the farmers group Innofo. Yeah, where we are an active part. We hope to be more active in IFOAM Asia once we are registered here. And so that's the way we work, because we don't need to double the work. So we are supporting the structures in order to, let's say, also secure the livelihood of our members. Of course, we have also a special one. We have a World Advisory Board, because as we are German-based, the German local needs of the farmers. So coming to standards, I mean, you know, government standards, which are all important. And then we say that they define, of course, the minimum legal requirements. So if you want to call your product organic, yeah, in most of the countries you have to go through the legislation, and also to use this logo, you must, let's say, obey the rules. Private standards have different histories. In Europe, the private standards were existing before there was any government regulation. So they have been developed before this, and well, let's say the starting point for example, the European regulation, for the EU regulation. Today, of course, when you have this government standards, you have, let's say, the role is that you can develop new areas. So the government standard is covering one part, but you can go and do a little bit more. You can perhaps develop a new area. For example, aquaculture, where Naturland is very strong in, was also helping, let's say, building the European standards then later, because it was not in the first legislation. It only came into force in 2010. And it also gives, of course, the chance for differentiation. When organic was very small, the brand was organic. Yeah, when organic was 1% in Germany of the market, 1% organic was a brand. Now, as you have a growing market, you need also to differentiate on the market among organic. And private standards is one opportunity to do so. And that's why we think we offer this. And also you can really also develop new things which might later then get recognized by governments. So we think that private standards are really also the driver for innovation and needed, not in the end to help farmers for differentiation. For us, it's of course very important. You have, you can say a little bit, that you can say you have bureaucratic regulations or you have farmers-led standards. If you think who developed the organic sector, as I said, it was, let's say, the pioneers. You have, of course, all this government standards, which is a regulation. But we think that farmers get only motivated if they have a say how they want to produce. Because when we started organic farming, the farmers were happy to say, we are voluntary, do this extra stuff. That means a burden, but we decide on it. If you put it on a government standard, which is necessary for fraud protection, for giving consumers insurance, it's all right. But for a farmer, it only means you're checked if you do fraud. So it's not so easy for them. This part, it's very important that farmers still have, let's say, they are part of the decision making. And this is what we can offer. And of course, then this is important. So Naturland is not the same as a government regulation. This is the EU logo. We, let's say, combined. That means also, for example, if if you are a farmer in the European Union, or you apply to the European rules, and you want to also get member of Naturland, what you do is that we have one inspection from a third party inspection body who will do the inspection both together. So they are trained by Naturland. Yeah, it will be as one, for example, in Taiwan, they have a license for doing it for the European Union, and they will also check the same time Naturland standards. So it's one control. The certification will be then issued from Naturland and the EU, and then you have, let's say, both certificates. So in order to also reduce the effort for the farmers to have only one control and not an extra one. On the history of standards, right. You have, so we're existing since 1992. Yeah, we had the organic standard. Since 2005, we have the social responsibility. So we talk a lot about, let's say, the workers' health condition, all the things that are important for us, and I think we were among the first doing so. Yeah, so they are part. If you do organic, you have to apply to those social standards and responsibility. Meanwhile, then since 2010, we do the fair trade for the north and the south. Yeah, that's very important. So if you're a German farmer, you can also apply the fair trade logo for your German farmers. And this is since 2010. This is voluntary and extra. Meanwhile, this belongs together. And we have a very huge set of standards on agriculture, also tropical, processing, aquaculture, wild capture fisheries, fair economy, which is this and actually. Can I ask how much time I have left? Just write me. Okay. So one part, of course, I said we have a huge number of farmers, smallholders, that we train regularly, the farmers and the cooperatives, as well as those who do the inspection for us on smallholder group certification. You probably all know this internal control system. So this is very important to us because it's such an essential part for our work. So in particular, all this cooperative on coffee or whatever we have, they really, let's say, use the system of having one, let's say, a delegated body to, let's say, check all the smallholders, farmers, to do the inspection for us and reduce the administrative burden for farmers tremendously. That's a very important element in our work. And in the end, it comes to the trademark. So in the end, if you have a good control system, you have great standards, you have a good advisory system, so you have a good production, it doesn't mean that you can sell your product. So what you need to sell your product. And this we do with our two logos and with the whole organization of the value chain. And of course, I mean, Naturland function, we say brand, but actually it's a co-brand. Because you keep your original brand here all the time. You have, let's say, it's a seal of trust. You have then the Naturland logo extra to give extra value. And this makes it for many shops, retailers attractive. And companies. Yeah, and sometimes it's also, I once had a discussion in Vietnam with a shrimp producer, and they were not selling on the German market where they had the logo, but they wanted to sell to Canada, and the Canadian trader, he wanted shrimps from Naturland Standard, not for the label, but just for the trust. So sometimes in the German market it's the label, but it's also often that you say, if you have this certification, it helps you on entering another market because you're well known among the sector. If you, we have around 8,000 products that are labeled with Naturland, and although we are, let's say, International Farmer Association, we have on the market a quite dominant focus on Germany at the moment. So, and just to give you the example, we have a cooperation with Rewe, which is the second biggest retailer in Germany. So they have, they call it Rewe Bio, which means Rewe Organic, and they label more and more products. So we have a contract with them, an agreement, and they label, let's say, the products with Naturland. But of course, it means we have to also manage this change all the time because it's also a question of availability of the raw materials. We also work with the biggest drugstores, DM and Rossmann together, and also have agreements there. And there we of course, this is not fresh stuff, but it's then more, let's say, processed food. And then, of course, a different organic supermarket shop, I could put just two of them, all other, please forgive me, other shops not mentioned, but here we have products that are of course there and sold, and it depends of course on the different shops where they have a tendency, or depends also very much on the partners. So, but just to give an example, that in these channels we, let's say, going in. So I give you, there's hope, I'm closing soon, yes. So give you example, because examples are always more easy to understand. This is an example from Germany. So Berchtesgadener Land, South Germany. Yeah, it's the first organic dairy, 1973 in Bavaria. And they have conventional organic farms, but they have more organic farms than conventional. And they were the first one certified as Naturland and Naturland Fair. So they use this logo because they certify all their supply chain with Naturland Fair. Yeah, they have 100 million kilo of milk per year, around 260 million euro turnover. And this works very well. If you look now an example of the products, it can of course change. So you have here a Schoko milk, an organic one, and fair. So you have the organic fair milk from South Germany, so the farmers get extra rewards. The cacao you have from Dominican Republic, and the sugar comes from Paraguay. Yeah, so all certified Naturland. That means farmers around the world participate on our market success. But of course, I said we are internationally. So here's we have diverse projects. One example are shrimps in Vietnam in the Mekong Delta, where we have different farms. And so we have one of our members is called Binka. They, let's say, sell the shrimps in Germany, but since last year, yeah, this is, you see, that's not German here, at least this one not, but this is, let's say, here you see the Naturland logo. This is in a mall in Vietnam, and where they start to bring the Naturland logo also on the market. So, and this is of course local food, because produced in Vietnam, going partly to Germany, but also now to Vietnam. And we use this, let's say, starting of our brand also to help other small farms. We are sourcing now other small farms in Vietnam to help to enter the market with our sign. And this is, let's say, one of our development projects where we really give added value to the members and new market opportunities for those who want to go organic or are already organic and want to, let's say, find a new market. So, as promised, we're coming to the end. Yes, but I'm coming to the end. It means in German we are not ready. So, Naturland, let's say, in summary, what we offer to the farmers. I think we have a unique competence with over 30 years of experience, where we have really a worldwide vision to develop the sector, develop organic with farmers and partners. And we have, let's say, also unique experience to deal with smallholders in particular, to help them to find a market, to get into the value chain, and to give really market access to, let's say, our standards, our premium brand in Germany, but also, as you could see, in other parts of the world. And of course, also through our direct support in helping them on the technical advice, on the day-to-day things. And we also know our farmers. So, for example, next week I will go to Philippines and I will visit 2 of our members in Philippines. Of course, it's also always a quality insurance, but it's also to help them to have an exchange and let's say to support them on their day-to-day business. And yes, so I think with this vision and this example, I hope this paper here, the fortune was a little bit true, that you didn't fall. I didn't see people sleeping so much, so perhaps it was not too bad job. So thank you very much, and I'm happy to be here with you for the rest of the conference and listening to many other interesting lectures. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Marco. Then the third speaker is David Huang, who is the Executive Vice President of SGS Taiwan. He will give us the global development trends in sustainable agriculture of products. Okay. We will welcome Mr. Huang. Okay.
President Zhou and ladies and gentlemen, it's our honor to be here to present one topic to the forum. We think over for a long time what kind of topic can be adding on the situation. Most important, I think, is sustainability. The organic mainly focus on food safety, particularly in Taiwan. I take a liver operation. I eat all the food is organic. So I know this is very crucial, very important. But the global trend currently is talking about not only food safety, traceability, but also talking about the sustainability. And sustainability, 永续, is very, how can I say, very difficult to understand. So I would like use this opportunity to tell all the farmer, all the organic related the partner to understand the global trend. Now it's not the food safety organic, but also sustainability, and that already become a global trend. Particularly, I would like to address organic is not for Taiwan. Organic can go for international. So if you want to go to international, not only organic, you should add on the sustainability. And most difficult for organic go for international is organic in the standard is not harmonized globally. At the moment, no one international standard cover for organic. I hope in the future, this standard can be harmonized. At the moment, the organic standard is owned by national. Or I can say owned by private standard. So that's difficult to go for international. But I would say if you go for international, maybe you need organic plus something. This could be easier, and that's address. And before the start, I would like to introduce SGS. We are the world's largest food testing and certification body. We have lab over 400 labs, mainly for testing, and over 100,000 staff, professional staff in the world in 180 countries. In China, we have over the 10,000 staff. In Taiwan, we have 3,000 staff. So we are really working in the Asia. And I am in the SGS for over 35 years, starting from the lab testing lab, the staff. And now I'm managing for the certification operation in the Asia, in Northeast Asia, including the Taiwan, Korea, China, and Japan, and also Vietnam. So those countries already have some organic and growing very fast. So the next one, I would say, the topic is what is sustainability? The sustainability is including the worker welfare, including the animal welfare. If you are the agricultural product is related to animal, and also the worker education, and also fair trade, and also social related means you should contribute with your community. So that's I think meet with nature. The previous speaker mentioned about the social, and also the talking about the fair trade, and actually also have a mindset talking about environmental friendly mindset in the sustainability. And for this slide to tell people, apart from organic logo, this is global famous, the certification, food certification mark. Not all in here. The majority you can see is GFSI related, including IFS, BRC in UK, IFS in Germany, BRC in UK market, the SQA in Australia, American, and also FSC is a common standard based on ISO 22000 advanced ISO 22000. This is globally, the accept. But this part still, the right-hand part still is mainly for food safety. And GFSI is initiated by the major, the retailer, global major retailer, and those retailers control most of the, the product setting in the market, and they set up a standard for mainly for safety. But another part you can see, getting more and more global food-related, the certificate mark for sustainability. UTG is for coffee, and MSC for fish, ASC also for fish, and also you can see the others. And in between have two standards. Is across food safety and sustainability, particularly for global gap. And global gap at the moment is originally Euro gap. Now it's global gap. It's the biggest, the food agriculture certificate body in the world. And this mark widely accepted in the market. And I will use this, the map, the share with you not only food safety, but also we should quickly move to sustainability if you want to go to international. And locally, maybe we are not have such kind of logo or certificate scheme, but the consumer is use a green mindset and select the product. So according to the market study, your product green, normally consumer willing to pay 10% more to buy your product. And those 10% green concept actually is sustainability. So if you can understand the sustainability, you consider is a consumer green concept. This is correct. Next one is I use the global gap as an example and share with you how the certification standard from the the food safety across to the sustainability. And global gap actually the scheme including not only fruit, vegetable, but also for tea and also for livestock, like the beef, like the pork, like the chicken, and agriculture, the seafood. That's the total picture of the global gap. So I will address organic. We are mainly talking about vegetable, but actually a part of vegetable is still a big market, a big area we can enter, particularly in New Taipei City. Tea is very important in the agricultural product, because it's a high value product. We can really go for go for international, and also can use organic differential in the market, selling a better price and give a high value added to the farmer. I think tea is important for New Taipei City. And another part that you can see, not only the food safety and traceability, but also talking about environmental friendly, worker the welfare, animal welfare, and also important. Not only the standard, but also you need in the management system. Time goes very fast, and I just give example. For in global gap 218, and the distribution by the four category, and less for seafood. You can see here more control. And animal welfare with 51 control point. Most of control point is must. Some control point is recommended, but majority is must to do. And for the tea is more is 276. Why? Because this not including the farmer requirement, but also the processing the requirement, and not only for the worker but also environmental. And that's the breakdown for the tea requirement. You can see in the process also need a lot of requirement in the 43. So they require more requirement. But this is a high value product, and easily Taiwan can go for international. And I also address more importantly is not only the farmer, but also the processing, and but also distribution and the retailer and also consumer. This is a whole chain. And most important is the whole chain should be controlled with the certification. And that's the concept. And lastly, in the conclusion, I would say, in the organic, I think not only the food and traceability, this has become essential. This has become essential. So I think we should quickly move to the another stage, to the sustainability, and then can gain some benefit. So the conclusion is in the global trend, sustainability including the environmental protection, the use less, the fertilizer, such kind of thing. But in organic, actually, no use of fertilizer. But the environmental friendly, worker welfare, this is part of social and animal welfare and worker education and fair trade. That's key for the sustainability. 我用中文来做个结论哦。
I'll draw a conclusion in Chinese, in Mandarin Chinese. In this field, I think it is very clear organic farming is these days, we pay a lot of attention to food safety and traceability. However, other than these two concepts, how can we pursue a future in organic farming? In fact, a lot is happening in the international community. Very well known is Global Gap. The farmers in the audience may check it out. So basically, sustainability can no longer be neglected. So Taiwan, the organic farming community, if it wants to go international, it has to pay heed to sustainable development. So on behalf of SGS, I have delivered my presentation to the audience. I would like to thank the audience for your attention. Thank you. I would like to thank all the presenters' presentation. Now, I would like to welcome the second moderator to moderate this session.
Good morning, everyone. We now proceed to the second session of the conference, Trends in Organic Agriculture in the World. Our first speaker came all the way from Germany. He is the General Secretary of Demeter International. He has a degree from the Agricultural College in Nürtingen, Germany. From 1986 to 2018, he was a farmer responsible for the development of a 38-hectare mixed farm in Reyerhof, Stuttgart, Germany. For many years, he was a board member of Demeter Bund, and later, the chair of the supervisory board of Demeter EV. For 10 years, he served on the board of Demeter International as its first general secretary. Since 1990, Reyerhof is owned by a company with more than 50 families as shareholders. In 1991, a specialized organic food shop was established on the farm. Since 2013, Community-Supported Agriculture, or CSA, exists with currently 400 shareholders, and in 2018, a cooperative was founded to enable succession to the next generations. He will present the principles of biodynamic agriculture and encourage the youth to take over responsibility for the future of our planet. Ladies and gentlemen, Christoph Zimwendorfer.
Thank you. Dear audience, I've been 35 years a farmer and I've worked with my hands, and so I'm not used to these kind of presentations, so I hope I can get through. I was very much impressed what has been told about the situation here in Taiwan. For me, that's the first time I have seen that young people go back into farming and that farmers are able to earn more money with farming than with other jobs. The situation all around of the world is very different, what I experienced. And not only in Europe, but also I have seen it in India, I've seen it in Latin America, that we challenge the situation that more and more farmers leave their land, go into the cities, and that we do not find young people going on the land again. And I have experienced in Germany as well, even people, if you want to insult someone else, you say, oh, you're stupid like a farmer. So often farmers are considered as the lowest skilled and knowledge people in society. That's in many societies the case. And that's why I'm very happy that on our farm we have found 2 young people that have taken over the farm in the last 3 years. So now I'm free to travel around and to encourage the youth to take over responsibility for the land again. So what I want to speak about in the next time, I will shortly a bit talk my story about my farm, where I come from. And then I want to line out the principles of biodynamic farming. And I was very impressed what the mayor said about the 4.0, because I think biodynamic farming is one of the eldest form of farming, but it's the future. It's a 4.0 that will come because it's a holistic approach. So that's the family of my wife, and that's a break during harvest. The main crop is wheat. We make bread out of the wheat, and that's the base of our nutrition. We run now a 38-hectare farm, diversified with cows. We are milking, we are making cheese, and we are producing ice cream. But we have also a lot of vegetables and fruit. So our farm has never seen chemical fertilizer and pesticides. My father-in-law, already after the Second World War, decided not to use any of these new, so-called new things, and he already started in working biodynamically in the year 1952. So we have been Demeter certified 1955 with 9 hectares. When he was dying, we found this document in his papers. So our farm is now more than 60 years biodynamic. And we have been outside the village, but now we are located in the middle of a suburb of Stuttgart. Stuttgart is a town in South Germany. I don't know if you know Mercedes-Benz or Porsche, these big cars. That's our city. Or Bosch is, so we are a very industrialized region. So people always wonder if they hear that I'm come from Stuttgart, they are always asking, are there any farms there? So we are still there in the city, and you can see there is a lot of consumer coming. This was the celebration of our 50 years of biodynamic farming. And if you go into, it's in a street with houses around, and then you can go in and you can see here the stable with the cows. Here is the shop, small restaurant here, and that's where we live in this house. So that's me and my wife. I was a bit younger then, and you can see that's our cows here in the stable where we are milking. So Demeter is the trademark for the products of biodynamic farming. It has already been founded in the 20s of the last century, has been protected worldwide now, and is playing a role on the global markets already. But what I want to, Well, yes, what I wanted to say to the question of becoming a farmer. I come out of a studied family, and in my generation still the aim was to study, to make a master, to make a degree, and to make a scientific or professional career. But my generation, we stepped out of this thinking, and there was this movement going back to the land and working with the hand. And I discovered that the profession of a farmer needs the most skills than all the other professions, because you need not only to be able to work with the hand, which is already not easy for a lot of people, but also you have to be a scientist and a researcher, because you have to learn to observe your soil, you have to learn to observe your plants, you have to try out things and improve always what you are doing. You have to be creative, because you have to adapt to the changing conditions. So you need also to be an artist and to be creative in your profession. And you need a lot of new knowledge to acquire. So it's always a learning process and a challenge. So for me, the farmer is the ideal professional. So I always tell people, if you want to be happy in your life, become a farmer. The 8 principles of biodynamic farming is fertilization means enliven the soil. Second is the planet connects cosmos, and the plant connects cosmos and earth. The third is the animal gives the soul to the farm organism. Biodynamic preparation strengthens life. Biodiversity forms landscapes. The quality of food, the social dimensions, and man is taken as a foundation in biodynamic agriculture. So, first principle, fertilization means to enliven the soil. A lot of farmers nowadays think they have to put in something into the soil to be able to harvest something. But that is not a sustainable thinking. So we can develop soils, and soils have been developed over generations, over a long period. And the most fertile soils we have been developed together with the animals, with grazing of ruminants. That has built up these huge humus soils. So the connection of animals with the plant in an environmental system can build up soils. So when we start to form a farm organism, and that's the basic principle in biodynamic farming, that we are not thinking of taking inputs and having an output, but forming an organism that is as closed as possible, and to strengthen these internal processes. So one thing, that's a picture from the very south of India, where they are making compost, biodynamic compost. And with our biodynamic preparations, we enable the plant really to penetrate the soil and to build up the soil. The plant connects this cosmos and earth. The plant is the element in the farm organism that penetrates the soil by its roots. So, and we know nowadays that new scientific researchers have shown that the plant is able to react on the condition of the earth. So what is missing to the plant is enabled to produce the nutrition for the bacteria and for the life in the soil they need to grow. So there is an exchange by the roots, by the rhizomes with the soil. And this generates life in the soil. And on the other side, all energy that comes into this farm organism comes from the sun. That's the source of energy, and all the driver of the whole organism. So, and the plant is the one in the farm organism that is capturing the sun and is integrated this. So the sun has this relation between all what comes from the cosmos through the sun, but also through the planets and the constellations, to integrate it and to bring it through the roots into the soil. So that is the central element of the function of the plant. And we have here, I've taken a picture of one of our fields, and you can see we have here a mixture of plants. So the biodiversity is very important, not to have only one crop. But here you have a mixture of grasses. The grass is the plant who makes the best roots, penetrates in the soil, and builds up humus. And on the other hand, we have the leguminosis, the clover here, different variety of clover, which is able, together with the bacteria in the soil, to capture nitrogen and to bring nitrogen in the cycle of the organism. So this is always at the start of every crop rotation we have in farming, is the combination of grasses and of leguminosis, because that builds up the humus and the nitrogen. The second very important element in the farm organism is the animal, and especially the ruminants. We have cows. In other regions you might have more goats or more sheep, and I'm struggling still with the East Asian agricultural culture, because in many areas you don't work with cows or goats. So I'm still wondering how it is possible to have a sustainable farming system without the ruminants, because all meta-research studies in Europe have shown that the only long-time sustainable systems work with ruminants, because they are able to transform the grass into the gold of the farmer, we call it, which is the manure, to manure the land. And the newest research have even shown that it's even an advantage if you, and the difference, if you manure your land with cows that have eaten from your land. So if you take fodder from outside to the animals, it gives another manure. And the function of the animal is to really make a connection between your fields where you grow the grass and the fodder and the other fields. And through the crop rotation, that is the binding link to form an organism and to build relation. That is the aspect of the soul. The soul has the function to build relation. We know it from human life, and that's the function of the animal, to build relation within the farm organism. And then we have, at the fourth principle, our biodynamic preparations. Farmers can make them themselves, so you don't have to have an input, but also you can have it from sources where people specialize. This is from a place in France where we made in a group the different preparations. So we use different plants and process them into animal envelopes, and we bury them half a year, and then the plant is transformed into it's like medicine that you then put into the compost, and that enables the compost to take up more the cosmic forces which are necessary to enhance all this process in the organism. And these preparations, they strengthen the life of the plant. So the ability of the plant to develop through their roots all what is necessary, phosphorus, calcium, and all these processes are strengthened by these preparations. Only through healthy soil, healthy animals, you can get healthy food. And healthy is not the absence of pesticides. Health in food is something else. And if you often in organic farming, if you look at the plants, they have a different behavior. Chemical fertilizers makes the plant heavy. You have often the leaves going down and not really attracted by the sun. If you make organic farming or biodynamic farming, you can observe that the plant are able to push up their leaves more to the sun, to have more inner structure, to become resistant against diseases. And this different plant structure and these forces that the plants have taken in, you eat them. And that's what is healthy, that you get through the plants forces and an empowerment that make you not only be able to work better, but also to feel better and to think better. Another principle in biodynamic farming, and that's what I wanted to say why I consider biodynamic agriculture as 4.0, is that from the beginning of the movement, it began in the 20s of the last century. Rudolf Steiner, which was an Austrian philosopher, he gave inspiration to a lot of fields in society, not only for farming, but also for medicine, for pedagogy. I don't know if in Taiwan we have already Waldorf schools or Steiner schools. So in different fields, he gave thoughts to change and to live differently in society. And the main point is, we come to this later, to the principle man is a foundation. The main principle is a different view of man, not being only a living system drawn by chemical substances and electric nerve reactions, but having a soul and an individuality, being a spiritual being. That's the picture behind. And this has implication for everything. And so these three dimensions of social dimensions have been important and played a role from the beginning in all biodynamic contexts. And that is that it's the idea that the farmer is responsible for his farm and should be skilled, trained, so that we need capacity building, because only a good trained and skilled farmer is able to design his farm organism. Also, we need equal relation between all human beings, so that's also important to be looked at. And what we call associative economy means that from the farmer to the consumer, as we have a shop on the farm where a lot of people come, but we have a movement since a few years, which in Germany grows very quick, and it originally came from Japan, the TK system, where consumers are connected directly to the farm. So that has grown a lot. We have now in Germany more than 200 farms with this system in the last years. And I was very much impressed meeting a group of young people a couple of years ago. They came on our farm. They said, we have found a group. We want to be connected to a farm. Do you want to be our farmer? And I said, oh, I have already enough work. I don't want to start something new. And they said, yes, but we want to take over responsibility for the land. And they didn't come because they wanted healthy food. They came out of what I experience as a new global consciousness growing, that the new young generation is aware of their responsibility for the whole earth. So they want to take over responsibility. They don't want any more food waste. They want that the farmers are well paid. They want to be integrated in the decisions on the farms. They want to take part. They come once a month, work with us on the farm, because they want to experience how it is to work on the soil. And now we have our budget. We have nearly €500,000 budget for the farm, what we need. And 60% of it is directly paid by the consumer. He says, I contribute this next year to your budget. You are financed in the next year. And then the harvest is shared amongst the consumers. So this is a development which is necessary to support sustainable farming into the future. Last but not least, that's the most important principle in biodynamic farming. Man is taken as a foundation of farming. That means we don't look into nature only. That's the base of our farming. But we have to understand who is man and how is man, what is the essence and the qualities of man, to be able to understand and to design a farm organism. We are not copying natural processes, because in nature you have a very low intensity. Therefore, you have a diversity of animals, but only a few humans fit into these natural surroundings. That's why we have often, in Europe at least, a confrontation between natural preserve movements and organic movements, because nature preserve movements often want to keep man out of the system because man interferes. But the challenge of agriculture is to elevate nature into a cultural, so farming is a cultural activity, which means an intensification of natural processes and redesigning them. Originally, man was walking with the animals, hunting them, and living of what was there. And only by domesticating the cow, it was able to settle down and to get settled and to do farming on a certain place. So that's why that is our task. And I was just shown that I have 5 minutes. I would need another 5 hours to explain the picture in biodynamics about man. So you are invited to come to next conferences on biodynamic farming. The threefolding of man means that a man has 3 different systems. He has a nerve system where he perceives, he has a metabolic system where he digests, and he has a rhythmic system where these 2 polarities come together. And these are principles you can go through, and you can transfer these into agriculture, and you understand more and more how it could be. We have a reading circle where we meet my farmer colleagues and other people. We meet every winter, once a week, one evening, since 33 years. And we still have more questions than in the beginning. So if you go the biodynamic way, you will not get many answers, but a lot of questions, which will help you to find your way through designing your farm. And what is essential is that it's not a recipe, it's not a methodology, it's an attitude, an understanding, and you will be able to design your farm according to your place, according to your skills, in your special situation. So, the earth is a living organism as a whole. There are a lot of phenomena I could describe where you can experience this. And the earth is in the middle of the cosmos and our place where we work. And we get more and more aware of this global organism. And sometimes we get desperate, because if you hear to these big international conferences where they discuss about climate change, and then afterwards you look at the decision, it's so small, and you get and the problems are so urgent. So the solution is not in these big decisions. The solution is to start now. We have to start, and everybody can make a small step. And that's why I'm so thankful to the city of New Taipei to make such a conference, because it shows that local authorities can take responsibility, and the change comes not from the big decision makers, it comes from the local communities, it comes from the individual persons, the individual initiatives, and the individual farmers. So it's important to think global, to understand what happens in the world, but to act local and to build local initiatives. So these local initiatives, that is what we have experienced in our farm with the community-supported agriculture that have started. But there's a lot of other possibilities on the local level. You have started with school, 1 vegetable a week for the schools. So I hope next time we come to a conference here, you can report that you have 100% organic food in the schools and in all public canteens, because more and more people eat not at home anymore, at least in our society, but eat in canteens and in public places. And that's where all these public places should only if the local authorities take responsibility, be sourced out of organic food. So as I have made the experience that young people have taken over my farm, where I never knew if this will happen, because in a city where you are struggled by new buildings and roads, and we have difficult working conditions, we never knew if there are young people taking over. So the young people have now taken over, there's new life, a lot of people coming on the farm. The same I wish all over the world, that young people rediscover that in farming there is a perspective of having a healthy, a good, a fulfilled life. And Mother Earth is suffering. It has fever. So we count on the youth of the world to heal this illness. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris, for giving us an overview of biodynamic agriculture. Our next speaker is the Chief Executive Officer of Cheshin Organic Agriculture Foundation. He will talk about Pure Spring Tea, National Ecological Network's Source Protection Area. By promoting ecological farming, National Ecological Network's goal is to maintain biodiversity and ecosystem services in agricultural landscapes and repair fragmented ecological structures. Since 2009, Cheshin Organic Agriculture Foundation has been training and supporting farmers in organic tea cultivation. Through the transfer of production and manufacturing technologies, ecological conservation, and scientific research, the Pure Spring Tea initiative serves as an industry model for conservation action and education in Pingling District. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Sumu Rong.
好，谢谢主持人。
Thank you, moderator, Professor Cho, and good friends. Good morning. Allow me to introduce myself first. Originally, I was studying agriculture, the domain, and I joined Cixin Foundation. It was an organization founded in 1997 since the beginning and offered training to the farmers and do the promotion. And up to now, we have done a lot of work already. And recently, we are aggressively participating some organic or environmental protection policies drafting and discussion. So to this environment, we think we have a very important role and responsibility. So today, this theme is one of the cases in doing the organic agriculture. We have many others. I just pick up this one to share with you. This is organic agriculture in the water resources protection preservation area. It's also a national ecological networks. So I think we talk about biodiversity. A very important point is farmland and farm area. It's a very important domain, including habitats. Farmland is a very important habitats. Also, the species diversification, because the species they are also carrying a lot of diversified types. So we talk about diversification, and agriculture itself is a very important thing. So I think in Taiwan, Bureau forest playing a very important role, and actually is getting very good outcome already. My original job was getting involved, engaging with the agricultural science. We know a lot of the farms researchers, they did not understand about organic agriculture. It's the same with me. So in the exploring organic agriculture was only after entering Cixin Foundation. So I started to understand in the past the key point that was discussed was about the production output, how we can get a high productivity. In this biodiversification, they have a lot of risks and crisis. In Taiwan, the population density is high. Taiwan has 23 million people. Such a small area develops so fast. So we have a lot of losses due of the diversity in Taiwan. There is a type of wildlife species in the past due to this development of agriculture as starting to disappear now. This is the plants. In the past, we have a lot of precious plants because largely using pesticides and weed killers. These precious species also were disappeared. Forest Bureau came up with this National Ecological Network project, mainly focusing on Taiwan and offshore islands with these ecosystems. Hoped through this to rethinking Taiwan's ecosystems preservation and develop. So in these 6 aspects, including the left one, the national land inventory, road mapping, and also cross-discipline platform setup, and also regarding with this initiative and the friendly production environment, and also to preserve the forest and protect the endangered species. Also produce the bio channel to have the corridor, and also public participation. These are the 6 aspects in the hope to protect more species in Taiwan, to enlarge the efficacy. In the past, we were talking about protection or preservation. It was only in points. So that system we can develop into the bigger area. So in Taiwan, we have done a lot of regional planning from north to south to east to west. That's a regional planning for the national land. So we're thinking if the authority have these thoughts, then for the agriculture or industrial development, what we can do on this regard. In selecting some of the tasks, I would like to share with you this case. This is a northeast corner of the ecological network in Taiwan. This is the northeastern region. So this case, it's upstream of a Feichui Reservoir. This reservoir supplies the water to Taipei City and New Taipei City, together 6 million population. In the past, we emphasized the organic agriculture and products relying on not using the chemical fertilizers and pesticides, but it has not much contribution to the reservoir, so that we need to preserve a reservoir, but then we need to take some tangible actions. This is the things we would like to develop now. So this plan, in 2007, it was kicked off. We did an inventory of New Taipei City, Pinlin District, tea garden areas. It's a very old one from Qin Dynasty. There were a lot of people transplant the species, various species of tea to plant in this region. Due to the development of the modernized technology, a lot of chemical fertilizer and pesticides and the technologies has been introduced in here. So locally, over 80% of the farmers, they grow teas, but over 95% are using conventional agriculture, meaning they use the chemical fertilizer and pesticides. So we hope that to form a model, or to hope in Taiwan we have more of this hill farmland to be improved. So is that possible? We can have a new model to convert this conventional approach, also to protect this Fei Cui reservoir water resources, meaning that we hope the purpose is to take the organic agriculture approach and also protect the water resources, and also the landscape and habitats can be remained. In Pinlin district, you can see these kind of landscapes, rivers, streams, watershades, and also the tea gardens. They are related to each other. So the behavior of growing teas is linking to the water resources. So going to further, we start to do the work. Most of the local farmers, only 2 to 3, they are doing the organic. So they were working hard, but were not being recognized. Not too many people wanted to join them. So this left-hand side is the conventional farming and no weeds. So they lost the surface soil. The right is organic tree garden. So you can see that you have the weeds and the topsoil has been preserved very good. And so the weeds covering the topsoil. And in the beginning, we selected this district to get involved because we would like to discuss with the local farmers were they willing to engage in this. For the farmers in Taiwan, the past period, they were used to using the chemical fertilizer or pesticides to remove the weeds. When we talk about organic agriculture, most of them, they did not want to do that because they thought it was difficult. And to convince them to do this organic farming, it was a 2 to 3 months period of time. Only after that, only few of them showed the willingness. Of course, we offer some seminars and workshops and told them if they don't want to use pesticide, what other things they could use to resolve the insects problem. And in the past, they used chemical fertilizer, organic fertilizer, how they can utilize and impose that, how to make the selection. That's difficult for them. So in the whole process, we use a lot of manpower. And in the end, only few of them were willing to join initially. So our way of cooperation is that the farmers are still maintaining their management to their tea garden, tea farm, from the harvest to making into tea to do the marketing and sales. We would take the second part of it. So a lot of problems and issues in here. In the past, for the conventional way for growing teas, they're used to that the leaves are beautiful, not being eaten by insects and the bugs. And because the leaves, if they are eaten by the bugs, they don't know how to make into teas. So we worry about if they grow the tea and they make into tea, it will cause a pollution. So we concentrate the work. So we put the teas, collect them, find a local big private house to make them into the tea factory. So in the process of producing tea, it's also a challenge because the masters of making the tea in Taiwan, they don't know how to handle the organic tea leaves because they think because in the drying process, in the other process, it's also difficult. So going through the consultation from the experts and the improvement sequence. Eventually, they can make into this kind of organic tea. In 10 years, they can produce various type of organic teas and well accepted by the market. And right now, for the consumers to have more trust, so we introduce a different certification system for the consumers to accept. Cixin established a logo. It's called the green preservation logo. Other than organic, emphasizing ecological and habitats preservation. So in the past, we have the Guantian, these birds preserved in Pinling Tea Farm. We also developed a system to emphasize that to find the friendly environment, how they can do to contribute to that. In preserving water resources, we did a study and surveys. We found that we also proved that organic farming, the soil losing is not that much comparing with the conventional farming. We can keep the topsoil better. In the biodiversity, we have we done a lot more surveys. We have the auto camera set up to understand about biodiversity. We also did a survey investigation about the natural enemies, such as some insects, so that we just told them the possibility to do the certification. So the organic farm, easy to identify what kind of index the insects. If you don't put a pesticide, these insects can survive easily. In eastern Taiwan, we find in Hualien Agricultural Reform Farm, we find that some of the animals they are good for the rices. So in here, we also try to find some indexing type of insects, and we found that these, like this type of types, this is animal can appear in a tea garden easily. This is a reefs muntjac, and they are scared of people. If they see people, they just run away. So organic tea farm, it's easy for them to be found and to survive. Next, we also find the important species is spider. Spider, whether individually or the type of species, there are a lot of varieties. We have found this one. This one is club bionidai, and it's a good indicator for eco-friendly tea farm. So in this kind of organic friendly farm, all sorts of insects and animals survived. So that proves that you use the right approach. You can preserve the soil, and you can also cultivate the soil. So we hope that in the National Ecological Network, the friendly farming can be a good way. So this is my presentation. Thank you. This is a pure spring tea.
We have one question for each speaker. May I ask both speakers to please come to the stage? Okay, the middle. Our first question is for Chris. Biodynamic agriculture is great, but has not yet become popular in Taiwan. Will Demeter engage more activities in Taiwan, or even have a Taiwan branch office here?
Demeter is a farmers-driven organization. We are not a top-down organization, so we are not going somewhere to convince people to do something. We react when farmers say, oh, I'm interested, please organize a course, come to teach us, and then in the end we will come and also offer services. But Demeter International is an organization who is providing certification services now already worldwide. We have 19 members organizations who are doing certification in their country. Our youngest member is Demeter India. And but in another 60 countries we are active and are certifying. We have a few projects in China we are certifying. So and there are also in China some conferences and introduction courses in biodynamics. So that would be maybe the nearest for you. But If you go on demeter.net, you can have any contact you want and contact to me as well.
Okay, thank you, Chris. And we have another question, but it's in Chinese, so I'll let Mr. Su read it.
好，谢谢。好，刚刚有人问说有机茶园的。
So some asked how we reduce the pest in the organic tea plantations. Well, we were used to using chemicals, but for organic tea plantations, we use various methods. Well, for some pests, we could use natural enemies. However, some pests, we have to hire people to catch these bugs. Well, and for certain pests, you can't do anything but just let them eat the tea leaves. So the farmers have to try various means. Well, of course, somehow damage or certain loss is inevitable. Sometimes they may not be able to have a harvest at all. So these farmers have to live with that. And of course, we have a mechanism that compensate the farmers for their loss. This is how we do it.
Please, for our two speakers.
让我们谢谢以上讲师们的精彩分享。那么接下来呢，进入特别分享阶段，有请。
Next is our special session.
Hi, is it working? Okay. Well, it's almost afternoon, but anyway, good morning. I'm glad to see so many faces here, family faces, right? The speaker I'm going to introduce is a mentor to many of the young people. If you visit his organization, I think majority of them are young people working there. So when you actually visit them, you get so energized by seeing so many young people coming back to organic farming. Matthew is a mentor to many young people, and also to myself, and also to Julia, because he's also a former World Board member, and he's also a pioneer of PGS. PGS is the participatory guarantee system that is practiced in many countries in Asia, especially in developing countries, and I know there are some PGS groups also in Taiwan. That is the reason why we prepared a very special session. He speaks for exactly 1 hour, but he will go on for about 40 minutes, and we will take questions. Okay, and you can listen. We are giving you the IFOAM version of PGS. You can ask questions. I think the questions will come on a special device. And we will give you plenty of time to ask enough questions so that we can see more development of PGS in Taiwan. Matthew, you have the floor.
So, good afternoon and Vanakkam. Vanakkam is the greeting from where I come from India. Can I hear it back from you? Vanakkam? Louder. Vanakkam. Today is a very special day in Taiwan. Can somebody tell me why it's a very special day? Why is today a very special day? Today is the Youth Day, yeah? And this in Taiwan, and this conference has been organized today, and I think that's a very special moment. I would like all of you to stand up for a few seconds, turn around, say hello, vanakkam, greet a youth next to you, because they are the future, yeah? Can we do that? Yeah. Give them a big hand. Give them a big hand. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think you've been listening since morning, so that a few seconds to stand up. Yeah. So, I'm going to spend some time speaking about participatory guarantee system. We call it PGS for short. is something that has been going on in many parts of the world for many years. But I thought I'll spend some time and run you through this entire thought process, the concepts that are there behind this. Even in the morning, when the Vice Mayor was speaking and he mentioned about PGS, yeah? And I think that's a very encouraging moment, because we speak of many things in organic, yeah? But I think what we don't do is hand the power back to farmers. And I think that's very important. When we find that many people are leaving organic agriculture, and if they need to come back, and if they need to have that power to make decisions, and make decisions for the market too, not only for their own farms, but to link it to the market. Yeah? You know, organic has become a new buzzword, yeah, last 40, 50 years. But for me, in my country, and I think in many parts of the world, organic goes way back in time, way back in history, thousands of years. It's just 100, 150 years that we've got chemical farming, and then suddenly we are saying we are rediscovering the word organic. Yeah? Isn't that an irony? That the way we lived, the way we ate, we have to rediscover that, and we've made now organic into a set of do's and don'ts. Isn't that funny? And most of the time, we get lost in how we want to define organic. Everybody has a definition of organic. I will show you one which is also from IFOAM, the definition of organic. Yeah? But I think organic is a way of life. Christoph was talking about holistic farming, and I think we need to go beyond trying to define organic. We need to bring organic back into our lives and be that person, be that part of that farm, be that part of that movement. You may not be a farmer, you may be a consumer, but how do you contribute to that ecosystem? Yeah? That's the definition of organic agriculture by IFOAM. But I think what I really like in that definition is it's not just one sentence, but it's trying to define an entire ecosystem. And it just doesn't talk about agriculture, it talks about people too. People are part of that ecosystem. And it talks about relying on ecological processes, biodiversity, and cycles. And for me, very important, it's on local conditions. It's not a definition that is made somewhere else, but it's something that is defined in your local context. It combines tradition. Many times, when we are trying to define organic agriculture, we forget tradition. And that's what I said right up in the beginning. It's 4,000, 5,000 years, the way people have farmed and eaten. And if we forget that, that would be a pity. Yeah? And very importantly, innovation, science to benefit the shared environment and promote fair relationships and a good quality of life for all involved. Isn't that an amazing definition of organic agriculture? Because it talks about people, it talks about the earth, and it talks about relationships. There are 4 principles of organic agriculture, and I think I just want to take you back. Because in the first slide I said that we keep trying to define what is organic. Yeah? And in that, we then come up with standards, criteria, and we get lost in that. But there are 4 principles, and I think these are very important principles, and we need to keep revisiting them again and again. The first one is the principle of health, and we're talking about soil, plants, animals, humans, and planet as one and indivisible. You can't look at one and forget about the other. We are all part of that ecosystem. The second principle of ecology, it talks about living ecological systems. And living ecological systems also means constantly changing and being dynamic. Yeah, you can't have one thing, define it, and get stuck with that. Yeah. The third principle of fairness, again, the definition talked about fair relationships, and I think that's a very important part of it. But I think very important is the fourth principle, and that's the principle of care. And that's why I also said that we need to acknowledge the youth who are the leaders of tomorrow. Because if we don't leave, we are only stewards of the environment. No, we are stewards of this earth. And what are we leaving for the next generation? Yeah, I think that's something very important. What we leave, and in what state do we hand this earth over to the next generation? And so this principle of care, the well-being of the current, not only the current, but the future generations involved, I think that's very important for all of us to remember. So that's 4 principles of organic agriculture. Based on that is everything else that is developed. If we move towards, we keep hearing about certification, and it's sort of become a very important part of everything we do, because we feel that if the producers and the markets are not connected in a way that there is a process that guarantees the product is not organic. Yeah. And so this whole word of organic has become so synonymous with certified. Everything, if it's not certified organic, then there's a problem. I think we should reverse that. No? Organic should be organic, and if it's certified, then it's certified organic. Yeah. So IFOAM recognizes different ways, and most common everywhere is third-party certification, where we have people coming in as external bodies, individuals, and they come and look over your system. But very important, and what I will talk about today, is the participatory guarantee systems, where we are talking about farmers reviewing each other, understanding what each one of them does, and review that, not only just a process of saying you are right and wrong, but where do you go further? How can we support each other? And importantly, we have non-certified organic. I don't want to, it's not a very nice word to use, but I think that's what, in the way we've tried to define ourselves, it's become non-certified organic. But for me, I would have just taken it as organic. And there are many systems all over the world. And I think we need to remember that, we need to acknowledge that, and we need to support those systems. And so IFOAM has also made sure that it talks about PGS, it builds PGS, and it supports PGS wherever it's happening all through the world. A formal recognition started in 2004, and today it's grown to thousands and hundreds of thousands of farmers all over the world who believe in PGS and who are part of that system. Very importantly, that it builds around groups of producers, not around individuals. Because PGS, when we see the definition, when we see the concept, it talks about groups of people and how they farm, how they consume together. Yeah? And so, why PGS? If third-party certification systems are successful or they make sense for the market, why PGS? PGS have developed because there are challenges in present systems. Yeah? For many farmers, I think it holds true not only in Asia, but in many parts of the world, that the costs of transaction are very high. And we need to acknowledge that. The costs are high. The processes are difficult. And a large portion of it depends on literacy, documentation, yeah? And if people are not literate in my country, there are millions of people who cannot read or write their own name, yeah? And we try and bring up system which needs to document everything, and that makes it very difficult. And then it makes it very difficult for them to access the market also, yeah? So PGS brings with it different kinds of strengths. And it's not only a guarantee system for the market, but I think as groups, there are many things that are happening. There is a huge learning process that takes place. There is an empowerment that takes place. Just a little while ago, Julia was talking about a person in Brazil who's talking about creating women's groups in PGS, empowering them. I think that's something that we need to take forward. Very importantly, when we talk about organic, most of the time, the first word that enters everybody's head is export. The second word that enters everybody's head is getting it to urban centers. What about eating it yourself in your own village, in your own community? It doesn't need to be certified. If you trust the farmer next to you, or if you trust a farmer close to your village or your community, I think that's good enough. And that's very important that local markets are developed. Yeah? And in many ways, PGS has also brought a sort of revival in many small groups of organic agriculture. PGS in many markets also has been one of the early starters. In many places where the governments have not created regulations, PGS is a good way to start. Yeah? Many places, health is a very important part, no? When people hear the word organic, for them it's the context that comes to them is that this is good for me, this is good for my family. This is good for the environment, and I think we need to remember that. So there is a philosophy behind PGS, and I think we should just run through that. Because for many people, as I said, certification is very important. In many places where the value chain becomes slightly longer, then you need a process or a system that is able to take care of that. But very importantly, it is built on certain principles, and we will come to that it's built on trust, is appropriate for very small farms, yeah? And as I said earlier, it's important for local markets to build. And these are basic elements which I think I want everybody to remember. And these are 6 basic elements. You evaluate yourself if you are able to create a PGS system or you're working with a PGS system. Are these elements in those systems? There is a shared vision. Are we all working for the same thought, for the same idea? Participatory. Many times, the rules are built somewhere else. Somebody else drives the whole system. And if we're not part of that system, we become just slaves to that system rather than be driving forces of that system. Very important is transparency. Yeah. Most of the time, people don't reveal information to each other, no? This conflict of interest. My client is very important, and so we're not sure what the farmer has got and what the customer pays. So you need to be transparent about prices, about the entire value chain. Very important again is trust. You know, as I said earlier, everything we reduce to writing, documentation, and it's highly dependent on literacy. But when you're talking about trust, when you're talking about farmers, you don't need to have that. You need to have a system that makes sense for farmers in their context. In my country, as I mentioned, many people are not literate. They come together, they just take a pledge together. That's enough. That's enough. For them, they know that they recognize each other by the pledge that they have taken. In many places, you don't even need to write. People just take a video of the meeting. That's good enough. The discussions you've had, discussions among farmers, that makes sense in that local context. As I mentioned earlier, the learning process is very important. And lastly, horizontality. Yeah? You don't have somebody coming from some other place, from some other city, and coming and checking you once a year. And that person comes as a person who can either keep you in the organic system or move you out of the organic system. Here, everybody is part of that system. Yeah? So if you look at those principles, those elements, you realize that inclusiveness of being together is a very important part. How can we be together? How can we include each other and not exclude each other? Many times, certification becomes a process of excluding people. You're not part of the system because you're not good enough. Really? You're not good enough? Maybe that person needs help. Maybe that farmer needs support. Lead that person through that process and not exclude the person. Yeah? And so many times, the organic world tends to exclude itself even, yeah, and becomes a club by itself. But there are many other groups out there who may not completely be in line with your principles, but I think they are partners in this journey. Yeah? And I think we need to recognize and sometimes collaborate with them. Because there are many times the organic world in a larger system is just still a very small part. And if we don't collaborate, we will lose. Many times people get confused as to, shall we start defining a standard for organic? No, there are already standards available. You can use the IFOAM standards as a base. You can have your country standards as a base. But you start somewhere. You can even start with yourselves getting simple standards into place. And that can be a starting point. I mentioned earlier, you see, people are just taking a pledge together. That's it. That's enough. This is somewhere in Latin America. This is in another part of our country. The people are just sitting in the field, talking, discussing. And I think that's the beauty of PGS, that it is able to recognize and be inclusive of many various diverse systems. Yeah, and that we don't need to be held by one simple or sometimes complicated rules. And so, very importantly, it is based on farmers reviewing each other. Farmers speaking to each other. And not only supporting, but also learning from each other. And as I mentioned, the use of the produce primarily for local consumption. This is very important. Most of the time when we talk about farmers reviewing each other, immediately the first doubt is, can we trust the farmer? Really? We make a statement, can we trust the farmer? Can we trust the farmer to uphold the integrity of the process? You know, very quickly we ask that question. But in many other parts of our lives, peer review is the basis of everything. If you go to the academic world, if it's peer reviewed, it's the best system of review. But somehow farmers are not allowed to do that. You are not capable, or I can't trust you. But I think somewhere we need to acknowledge that the knowledge that they have is phenomenal. Sometimes much more than we, people who go read, study, or have gone through agricultural colleges. They have not even an iota of knowledge that the farmers have. Yeah? And so we need to acknowledge and to be able to trust our farmers when they review each other. I take you a little away and give you an example from my country. Yeah? I talked about basic concepts of PGS, but I'll run you through a few slides of what's happening in our country. In our country, over 70% of rural households depend on agriculture. 70%. Can somebody tell me what's the population of India? 1,200 million. 1,200 million. 1.2 billion, of which more than 50% of the people are still in rural areas. And they form a large portion. So that's hundreds of millions of people who are still dependent on agriculture as their livelihood. Yeah? I'm talking about 500 million small farms. And most of them won't be able to read or write. And just in our process, we tend to exclude these people. Yeah? 80% of the food that is consumed comes from small farmers. And we tend to exclude most of them out of the systems that we create. And very importantly, they contribute the least to global warming, and they are impacted the maximum. What are we doing about working with these farmers? What space do we give these farmers? And so in India, we came together in 2006, and it was a very unique effort because the government came together, the civil society came together and said, we need to find a system that will make sense. Yeah? And in 2011, it became an independent program. Very importantly, in 2011, the government also started a PGS program. Yeah. It's a little bit of an irony where PGS, the concept talks about building from the grassroots, but here was the government itself starting a PGS program. And so we have the council that works in India, and it talks, it helps and supports farmers across the country and in other parts of Asia also how to build up PGS systems. Yeah. And so we've split it into 3 levels. We have at a national level, we have at a regional level, and we have the groups at a farmer level. And each one of them has different roles that they play. Yeah? I won't go into detail, but it's the local groups of farmers who review each other and decide whether the other farmers in the group are organic or not, and they make that decision. Yeah? And that's just a chart of how the groups work. But very importantly, I think, is the business model. that you have civil society at the back end, and you have at the front end, you have small institutions that are growing now and are becoming the marketing channels for these products to link to the market. So in many places, it might still be a local market, but in many places, the market is growing beyond the local areas. Yeah. We also have, as I mentioned, we also have the government, which has created a system. It has a third-party system, but it also has now a PGS system, and now that is growing quite a bit. Yeah. So that's a logo, the PGS logo by the civil society, and that's a logo that has been created by the government. This is examples, a small example that I gave from India. And these are some products that you see. That's coffee, that's millet sold by other groups. And they now carry that label. Many times you may wonder, you talk about PGS, you hear about PGS, and it has this movement really spread? And I'll give you some examples. That's PGS logos from around the world. And so there are many countries who are making PGS possible, who have created systems that work in those local contexts. Yeah? So you have examples from Philippines, from France, from US, from India, from the Pacific, that's from New Zealand. And so you see examples. So it's not only in many parts of Asia, but it's also in many parts of the US and Europe, where people have realized that third-party certification is not the only answer. It works in some cases. But if you want to build a local market, if you want to create farmers who are empowered, farmers who are making their own decisions, then I think you have to think about various alternatives, and PGS is one way of looking at that. This I gave you examples which are from around the world, but I just give you one continent, which is Latin America. And you just look at that. There are PGS systems all around. You may want to just start a small system in your own village, in your own backyard. Can producers, can consumers come together and create a small system? You have to ensure that there is a process, and that process makes sense. So when you are asked about it, you are able to talk about it, you are able to elaborate on a system that you have created. But very importantly, the standards remain the same. It's the approach that is different. And in many local markets, in many local scenarios, it is a very simple trust-based system that works, and you don't need much more than that. This is just the graphic of how producers, farmers, consumers come together and are able to create a system that works. Yeah. So you have consumers, producers, civil society, NGO workers. You know in a system in Brazil, you have even people from the university who are part of that system. People from the church who are part of that system. And if we're talking about trust, it comes in various forms. It's not only producers and consumers who can build that trust. Bringing a church into the system has made that possible. Bringing the university people has made that possible. So we need to find something always. What I'm constantly trying to tell you is find something that works in your local context. It may not be in university, it may not be a church, but is there something else? Sometimes consumers do not come together. Find something else, but create something that works in your local scenario. Yeah. Very importantly, I think, is regular meetings. And that's what makes the process interesting. It's not that you meet once a year, twice a year based on your farm, you know, whether it's an annual farm or you're growing vegetables. But I think that you are able to meet together, that you are able to talk together, you are able to discuss together and find solutions together. Yeah? Because many times when you are driven just by a process, you are wanting to complete the process and close the matter. But sometimes you may have a problem which all of you are facing, whether it is a problem of insects, whether it's a problem of water, and when the community comes together to discuss it, you find a solution rather than finding faults with each other. And so what happens is that you have an year-round social control. You don't need to have somebody coming only once a year to check you out. You are living next to the farmer, and you find that process is much more easier to deal with. It's not to say, and towards the end, I want to say that PGS is not a solution for all situations. PGS is a system that works in certain contexts. It's not a panacea for all. Third party works in a certain context, PGS works in a certain context. Sometimes no system works in a certain context. And so there are many strengths to it. Yeah, there is a very strong relationship between a producer and a consumer. Small producers are able to access the system. The ownership and responsibility is very high, and there are times when their costs are low. But there are also challenges, because if you have to build a system which is based on trust, you have to work on building it, no? In a family, you need to work on building and keeping your trust together. Yeah? And if you don't work on building it, it just doesn't happen overnight. Whether you go through the ups and downs of life, that's how you build trust. And I think that takes a lot of effort. And sometimes it is difficult in a PGS system if you are not putting in that effort. So that's a challenge, that you have to constantly put in an effort to talk, discuss, and resolve issues. And there's a huge amount of voluntary work that goes in, no? Many times consumers are putting in their time. People from the university, they are putting in their time, and they're not being paid for it. But I think it's also important that we realize that everything need not be monetized. And that's also a system that works. Everything doesn't work on a payment. It works on trust. It works on me being accessible to you and being available to you. Yeah, and so there are strengths, there are challenges too. And I think as the PGS system evolves, it grows and becomes stronger. Yeah. And so for me, just a few final thoughts that I thought I will put across. And especially when we work with the government, for the government, many times the government tries to create regulations very quickly. And I think that we need to allow PGS systems to evolve. We need to give them space. We need to let them work in certain contexts. And so even in organic regulation, most of the time, I've seen in Asia, I've seen in Latin America, they just copy and paste regulations from the US, from Europe. No. I think we need to, when we build our regulation, we need to be aware of what is our context and create regulation based on that. So create space. Yeah? Talk to other people about PGS. Many times when NGOs, civil society groups, each one wants to create their own PGS system. It's okay, maybe it works in a certain area, but there's also a room for collaboration, to working together. yeah, to be able to understand how other groups work and to promote PGS Organic. I want to end by where I started, and I start talking about IFOAM and the definition of organic agriculture. I think many times if you have doubts about PGS systems, how they work, you want clarifications about PGS system, I think we can go back to an international body to be able to get that information. Yeah? And so IFOAM has a PGS logo. And if you want to run your system, validate your system, whether it makes sense, you can always write in to IFOAM. They will be able to provide help. They'll be able to provide support. They'll be able to help you, to help and guide you. And I think we all should be able to access that piece of information and be able to, so that we are able to validate the systems that we create. Yeah. Very importantly, I think on the IFOAM website that you go, that you can evaluate yourself. Yeah, you do a small self-evaluation and see where you stand. I think that can just be a starting point if you want to create a PGS system. So I would like to end there. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I'm open to that.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Matthew. Exactly on time. And Dr. Zizi, could you help us? The questions are both in Chinese, and I think I understand about half the characters. Luckily, it's in traditional Chinese. If it's in Mandarin Chinese, I will not even be able to read it, but I understand the context, but I think you might be able to express it a bit better. Okay, so that's the two questions, right? Enlarge it? I don't think it's too small. Can you enlarge it?
Yeah.
No, I can't enlarge it.
Which one?
There's two questions.
Two, okay. Okay.
The first question is that for PGS, how can we avoid frauding? You know, for the farmers, how can we prevent frauding from the farmers? How can we prevent frauds?
That was what I wanted to tell you up front. I think we make farmers bad people. No. Somebody else in one of their presentations was talking about, Marco was talking about, you know, or somebody else was saying that you're telling lies like a farmer or something like that. Yeah, in Europe. Really? Are farmers such bad people that that's the one thing they want to do is cheat? You think they have no integrity? That you cannot trust them? The food you eat every day comes from a farmer. If those farmers are not there, you won't get food on your table. So to be sure, I'm not saying all farmers don't cheat. Yeah? But I think for that 2%, 5%, you want to make your life miserable? I think let's not go down that route. You will, in any system, you talk about third party, you talk about any system. Wherever there is a process, a system, a regulation, there are people who will cheat. And so let's keep them out. The other 90-95% will still work with the system. And I think you go with that. So if you keep fearing people who will cheat, I think we won't move. We need to trust somebody somewhere. We trust our family, we trust our friends. No? Let's trust a farmer.
Okay. The second question, the translation came up now. Is it Matthew? It seems that the government plays an important role to encourage all the farmers to join the PGS and make it operational. If there are only few farmers in the PGS, would encouraging consumers to join improve the current situation of having few farmers?
Yeah. I think that's what I mentioned earlier too. If you are few farmers, it doesn't matter. You may be 4, 5. I was remembering an example in Namibia. In the entire country, they started a PGS system, and there were just 8 farmers. Just 8 farmers who came together. They created something for their own local market. So you don't need to be 100, 200, or 1,000. You can have and start with a small number, 5, 10. You start a system, you work on it, and I think you will find encouragement. You don't even need to wait for the government. I think consumers are your most important constituency or your stakeholder. And if the consumers trust you, you don't need to have a system that is recognized by the government. Yeah. So start a system, be simple about it, and you let your own consumers decide whether you are trustworthy or not.
Since we have about 10 minutes left, I want to bring some people up on stage. We have the PGS groups from Asia who are here. Mrs. Nung from Vietnam, Rowena, Sri Lanka, can you come and join us? Because I want you to introduce a few lines about your country, what is happening in your countries. Can you please give them a big hand? I want to address one question to Mrs. Nung from Vietnam, because they had changes in the government regulations, and I think PGS was included because I was also part of the discussion. Can you update us on what the Vietnamese government is doing at the moment?
Yes. Hello everybody, I'm from Vietnam. We started apply PGS since 2008 and without any support from government. And it's 2014, now the government start look at us and evaluate our work, and they put in the degree for the PGS. Even now the government still not accepts actually PGS, but they put in the degree that encourage the farmer join PGS. But in the degree, they only allow the use organic wood in the product as organic with the third-party certification, but not the PGS certification. Anyways, we have a meeting with all our farmers, and we say out the situation, and our farmers think, oh, we still work in the PGS. Without PGS, our small farmer cannot bring to the market. So now we're still working. That's the situation of PGS, Vietnam.
Okay, and we were also part of discussion, IFOAM Asia was part of discussion in the Philippines, right? And we met with the Senator Villas. And so what is the current situation? Is the government considering, and I know that she promises that it will be part of the amended national organic regulations, right? So can you update us on what is happening in the Philippines?
Yeah. So in 2010, we have this Organic Agriculture Act, which specifically said that you cannot label your product organic if it's not third-party certified. So that's very clear in our organic agriculture law. But then we started also campaigning for PGS, because as what Matthew just said, that it's the farmers who's been working about organic agriculture, so they should be included in the system. And so we have formed this network of PGS. We call PGS Pilipinas, and then this group is lobbying for the recognition of PGS. And now, after 8 years of lobbying to the government, they have developed these guidelines for the development of PGS, and the government is starting to acknowledge. And then there's this amendment of the Organic Agriculture Act. We have two versions from the Congress, the lower house and the upper house, the Senate. The Senate version, Senator Villar have forwarded that to the committee level, but at the Congress, it has already passed the committee level, so it's just awaiting for the panel to approve that. So, but now it's election time in the Philippines, so it's the sessions are in recess, but they promise when they go back to session, they will finalize it and approve it, hopefully.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
So we have some developments in the Philippines. The government is actually considering the inclusion of PGS, yes? Yes.
I want to say. Yes, so now the PGS is like a blossom in my country. Everywhere talk about the PGS, about organic. And even in some NGOs project, they apply PGS for safe vegetable. So now they make the market, the consumer confused. Because they always think that PGS is for organic, so now we have a safe. So what to do? That's why now we face the problem in the, yes.
Okay.
Yes, well, the government is really the key to this. No, in the Philippines, we have involved the local government units. Some of them are members of the League of Organic Agriculture, municipalities and cities. They are the one who's been promoting PGS as well. So these people, mostly progressive mayors, are really pushing for PGS because it will help the local farmers, no, to produce organic food and to offer organic products to the consumers, which are affordable. That's one of the main importance of this having PGS at the local level.
Hello. First of all, I must thank for the IFOAM Asia giving a chance to come to here. Actually, Mr. Matthew gave a very good presentation. Especially, the PGS can't give the solution for the whole, but it is very, very important for the local marketing. As in Sri Lankan experience, we are going for the last 30 years for the third-party certification because we are exporting a lot of things for the other countries. But when the health problem come into Sri Lanka, local consumers created very good intention of the organic product. For that, very important for the trust between the farmer and the consumer. For that, PGS is a very, very important. We started very, very small pocket marketing from farmers to the consumer, having their confidence among them. So, as your country also very interesting in the local marketing, for that the PGS is very, very important. Because in Sri Lanka now even the Department of Agriculture also recognized, now they are developing the system, that is in a very young stage. But the more trust, according to my experience in the last 30 years, more trust in the PGS system than the third-party certification in my experience. Okay, thank you.
So I just wanted to highlight some of the developments in the Asian countries, right? And I think, Matthew, you can have the final comment.
Okay. I think it's always nice to hear from other countries and to hear their experiences because, as I said earlier, we don't have one system that fits all. So each country or a region of a country will have its own system that makes sense for them, whether it is language, whether it is their geographical area, whether it's their soil. Each one of these things brings its own diversity, uniqueness, and I think that's the beauty and richness of PGS, that we are able, based on some simple standards that we work on, but we are all together on organic agriculture. Just in my country, we have close to 300 pages, which is the standards by the government on organic agriculture. But when the farmers came together, they made it 2 pages. That's it. For the farmers, they do not need to read 300 pages. They talk about soil, they talk about water, they talk about the environment. I think that's the basic. They talk about their farm. I think we need to realize that we need to shrink those 300 pages, bring it down to some basic concepts of organic agriculture. That for me is one. I think we need to also build trust and bridges between the civil society and the government. Many times we tend to be at odds with each other. I think it takes time to work with each other. And if sometimes the scale comes when it's with the government. Yeah, civil society can work in a small area, in a small geography, but the government can help scale it up and make a larger impact. I just want to leave with those few words.
And I just want to add, the final word that I want to add is that IFOAM Asia has something called the Asian Local Governments for Organic Agriculture, which you will hear later in the afternoon by one of our ALGOA ambassadors. And this is developing PGS in Asia and bridging the bridges between the civil society, the farmers groups, and the local governments is one of the tasks that IFOAM Asia will be taking up. And someone said the time is up, but thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, moderator. And the speakers, I think you also would like to try do some contribution on this. Next will be our lunch hour. Before that, some introduction to you. The lunch material is from New Taipei City organic food material, like your lunchbox with rice or vegetable are provided by the local organic farmer. And the tea you drink today is also provided by organic tea farmer. Also, the water cup or some of the spoons and chopsticks are also organic type. So let me explain how to get the lunchbox. Vegetarian, please go to the front counter. Others, please go to the corridor. And two things.
AK system, which is Matthews mentioned earlier, and also the Korean scope movement. Okay, please welcome.
Yes. Thank you, Yusuf. 你好，我的名字是钟满철. Yeah. My name is Manchol Jong from Korea. And how was your lunch, organic lunch? It was good? Yep. Today, I would like to talk about Japanese Teikei and the Korean Organic Cooperative. The background of organic farming movements are different.